And there's no stage 5.
That's correct.
The episode Stage 5 centers around Johnny Sacks dealing with his terminal lung cancer and the treatment he goes through while still serving his prison sentence. Johnny's final days aren't the only thing we get to see in this episode. The subplots are centered around Tony's reaction to Christopher's movie, Silvio eating a meal, and Phil dealing with what's left of the New York mob.
Hot and sticky, like my balls.
You may be asking, what does a shitty horror movie, an Italian eating dinner, and a guy who spent 20 years in the can have to do with lung cancer? Well, these subplots all reinforce the central idea of this episode, displaying the futility of the disconnected lifestyle these mobsters live. Johnny Sacks' cancer diagnosis may have come out of left field for some. The last time we saw him, he wasn't diagnosed, but now the first time we are seeing him in a while, he's not only been diagnosed, but he's already nearing the end. The warning signs were always there, though. Name one scene Johnny was in where he didn't have a cigarette. I dare you. Johnny even gave up cigarettes after he went to jail, but it was too little too late. The damage is already done. Christopher finally gets his stupid-ass movie finished, but there's one problem. Tony's wife, Carmela, points out that the antagonist is literally him.
That's you.
The longer the series has gone on, the more and more disconnected Christopher and Tony have become. Their relationship became less and less of a familial one, but instead of a tightrope walk. Christopher is seen as less as Tony's nephew or a made man. He's more of a liability. He's an asset. A very problematic one at that.
I think he fucking despises me. It's pretty obvious. Wants to see me dead.
With John's circumstances, Phil and the rest of the New York mob need to pick someone to be the head of the family. Phil seems like the likely candidate, but he settles. Compromises, even.
I compromised.
Johnny Sacks is left thinking about his life, and what it is exactly that he accomplished. When he asks his brother-in-law what he'll be remembered for, he holds very little interest in the statements about how he was as a father and a husband. He wanted to be bigger than that. He was always chasing something, but so was everyone else, so they have nothing to be grateful for.
It's a thankless job.
He can't see his family much in prison, but he wasn't seeing them that much beforehand. The lifestyle he pursued required a disconnect from the human experience. Relationships are made artificial, and violence is made into a part of the job. All of this is done for a career that is reduced to nothing but chasing some idea of success and not even being present for what you have. John wanted control, but the choices he had control of in his life is what led him to this end. He chose this criminal legacy that ended with him in jail, and even the cancer he has was the result of his decision to smoke. The mob is self-destructive in its design, and it is not sustainable. Its instability is also how it thrives. The most successful people are the ones most detached from real human feelings and values. But what does that success amount to? Silvio sits down for dinner with the potential new boss of New York, Jerry. Phil has called him his protege, but how deep that relationship really is questionable. Jerry talks negatively about Phil, saying he was foolish for not taking the position. They keep talking over dinner and then... Silvio hardly flinches. It's not the first time he witnessed a murder, and he has participated in plenty. A crowd runs away from the scene, but the way Silvio handles himself is so different. The little hope Johnny had from the idea that he might live a few more years is short-lived. He starts smoking again to gain some sense of control. Eventually, he is finally at his deathbed surrounded by family. In his final moments, his wife offers him a cigarette to give him that control he wants. Some have pointed out how lucky Johnny is compared to other characters, because he gets to die surrounded by his family. But I wonder if he ever realized that, or if he was still chasing that feeling, trying to get that final say, but there is no stage 5. There is no payoff to Johnny's death. The show cuts away from it. The life these people lead is ultimately anticlimactic. The ending of this episode brings it all together. Phil is left still unsatisfied with all the compromising he has done, and he turns his back away from the people around to lurk in the past and in his beliefs. Tony has made a godfather to Christopher's child, but the relationship remains hollow and distant, all while the song Evidently Chickentown by John Cooper Clarke plays. The repetitive lyrics and ominous tone tell of people imprisoned in mundanity, unable to make sense of any of it.
Bloody way, bloody way, bloody lost and bloody found. Stuck in fucking chicken town.